All right, we're back here for you on a special 3-part series, social selling, the next 3 days. It's the Ascend Business Show. Stick around. You're going to want to take a lot of notes. Today, we focus on list building. We'll see you back in 60 seconds.
Power to pay. Power to pay.
All right, we're back here to you live in our new studio setup. I'm your host, James Jacoby, with my co-host, Bill Walton. Good to see you back. So, Bill, we're gonna reshoot last week. If you watched our show last week, sorry about the audio. We were trying something different. Didn't work. It's what we talk about. Sometimes you try things and it don't work. It's okay as long as you learn it and make it better. Hence today. So we're back to reshoot our social selling series, how to do social selling, why to do it. And we're really going to chunk this out so we can give you some really tactical things over the next 3 days on how to do this and what's the approach, whether you're a sales producer, you're a digital marketer, you're a sales leader, or you're even a business owner that's still selling. You're going to love what we talk about over the next 3 days. 11 a.m. Eastern, starting today, Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to cover a 4-part series on how to do social selling. Today, we're going to talk about list building.
I guess what I would tell our audience too is that anything we're going to share with you today and ongoing, you're looking at two folks that still carry the bag, right? So we eat our own cooking. This is kind of what we do. And everything we're sharing with you is how we're building our business, how we built business in the past. So just have some confidence in that. And, I learned from the best. He's sitting right next to me. This concept of list building, but I come back to another topic called lead stacking. When you're building a great list, it's amazing where we have our leads. You might, whether you're using Outlook or some email program, some older Excel spreadsheet, you might have transitioned to a new CRM. It's amazing. I would guess that 80% of our audience has leads in probably 2 or 3 different places. So that's number one. And you want to go through and look over it's been an interesting last 18 to 19 months, right? Think about the conversations you were having before the pandemic hit and before we kind of went on pause. So take a look at those places. I think about notebooks too. I'm a big note taker. I love buying little notebooks or journals. It's great for me to capture notes and think about the business and have ideas for you, for calls like today, for videos like today. It's amazing how many leads I have found in conversations I found that I had just 18 months ago. That's 18 months ago. It's not 18 years ago. So I would say that we're going to talk about list building. There's more leads that you have at your disposal. But I think now, hopefully what we've been able to do over the last 18 months is get really clear on who our ideal client is or our ideal prospect. So if you think about a list, we'd all love to say, hey, listen, the world's our oyster. But I would say that, number one, we've got some leads. If you read anything that you've written around lead stacking and where to find our leads, because they do abound, I think, for all of us. But now how do we get that into a list that's crisp, relevant, prioritized, and also aligned with a client type? So that's my lead into you, James.
Awesome. So without hanging on till the end, we want to let you know we got some free giveaways for you today. We're gonna give you one right now about lead stacking. Actually, if you haven't used this yet, if you haven't seen this yet, and you want fresh new leads today, we're gonna give you this exercise. I'm telling you, if you do this for 45 minutes, just block out 45 minutes, get your water, coffee, whatever you need. Go sit in a quiet space and do this exercise. It's an action guide. It's our 21 ways to accelerate your pipeline. And if you do this, you'll find that there are tons of relationships, tons of conversations that you've had in the last week, the last month, the last 3 months, even up to last year, that you can reconnect and rewarm very, very quickly. You just forgot about them. You didn't have them in a system. You didn't have them in a follow-up queue, and you just forgot. It happens. We all do it. So if you want some immediate people to talk to that you could potentially, update on how you're doing with your business, learn about what they're doing. I'm sure you've changed. I'm sure they've changed over the last 6 months. This would be a great opportunity for you to start Q4 with some relationships that need some rekindling. So what you want to do is just see that number at the bottom of the screen. If you text that number, that's our headquarters number at Ascend, 973-310-2803, the word Ascend, you will be sent a free action guide today on how to do this. And we'd love to hear your feedback. Let us know what you found, how it worked for you. Every time we do it, and we almost do it almost on a weekly basis now.
That's for sure.
It's there's always someone that we forgot about. They're like, oh my gosh, we got to talk to this person. We totally dropped the ball. Maybe that was 2 or 3 months ago. So
Yeah, and so maybe we can segue to some of the how-tos, right? I think the differentiator for us, I'll let our audience decide that after our podcast and after our live events, is that we're not just going to give you the what, we're always going to give you the how-to. So maybe we start with a little how-to around list building, using some of the tools that folks might have access to. So maybe we can talk about anyone who maybe has Sales Navigator. Would that be a good place to start? Can we talk to those folks and give them some tips? I know how we use the tool, but maybe you can kind of share with them a little bit about how to use a tool like that, and then I can talk about some other tools.
Absolutely. So a lot of folks that we talk to, in business today are using LinkedIn Sales Navigator or using maybe a Zoom Info or another tool that you can use to build a list, right? They're great pieces of technology. They're heavily underutilized, and there's a lot of cool features in them that a lot of people don't know that we share and teach here on the show with clients. And we hope to share something new with you on that today. But this is a great place to start because when you use a tool like Sales Navigator, for example, it forces you to pick. It forces you to pick who do you want to focus on. It's not the answer is, anyone that wants to buy my service or product. And we've heard that answer actually from really successful business people this year. That's not the right answer. The answer is, while that partially is true, you want people to buy your products and services, yes, but who are you focusing on? Who are you adding value to? Who are you nurturing and intentionally building a book of business with that you can scale and become a thought leader, right? Who is that? And Navigator really makes you have to choose, where do you want to focus? Is it in an industry? Is it in a geographic area? Is it a title level in a company? Is it a size of a company? Is it all of those things? Or is it even more than that? There's a lot of different filters that it has.
Well, yeah, let's stay on that because I know you're a master at this and you taught me this. Let's think about, and again, we're going to also give you ideas beyond Sales Navigator to build lists. But one of the things that Sales Navigator offers as a really good tool is the way you can categorize and dice and slice a list. I think left to right down the left-hand column, and when you're in the list building function within Sales Navigator, there are just so many characteristics. I want to say there as many as 13 that you can segment and sort and prioritize or create a list based on that. So let's talk about some of those factors that our audience should be thinking about when they build a list, when they have a tool like that, number one. But what are some of your favorite categories and characteristics you love to use to know that you're getting close to, hey, this is going to be a good list of my ideal, or at least a hypothetical ideal prospect list using Sales Navigator and those categories? What are some of your favorites?
Well, so we actually just talked about this a little bit yesterday. If you didn't know, we have a podcast as well called the Ascend Business Podcast. It's now on iTunes, Spotify, and elsewhere. But one of the things we went into was you can pick by those kind of categories I just mentioned. But another thing to ask yourself is, what do your clients believe about business today? What are their beliefs and opinions and points of view on their business, the market, and you? And the reason why I say that is because we have found through a breakthrough last week, we had a huge breakthrough just in our own business last week, as we were doing these exercises we're telling you to do, sharing with you, we do them ourselves, is we looked at each other and we said, you know what? We've talked to Fortune 100 businesses, Fortune 500 businesses, startups, everything in between. And we noticed that there's an actual trend for us that the right people for us that we want to talk to are folks that are totally bought into having a digital business, a digital brand, marketing digitally and using social selling as a strategy, are in this productive paranoia, I call it, mindset. That's from a book, if you recognize that term. But this productive paranoia around, we have to continue to innovate because our technology is only as good as maybe 3 months ago, and we could get displaced maybe in the next 6 months. There's this hunger and thirst for always on the front of testing, trying new things, and being okay with that. And so we actually rediscovered a different filter, so to speak, than what's maybe in Sales Navigator that is, if not just as important.
Yeah, so let's get granular here. So some of the characteristics you could take a look at is title, industry, obviously, size of company. That's one of the things that I find fascinating is, and again, James just talked about it. Our breakthrough was, maybe we're not, for what we do, and we have worked in the Fortune 500 for years, that for what we're doing now, maybe it's not the 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 employee organization. It could be. Maybe it's something different. Maybe it's a faster company, a faster organization that's in a different business and moving a little more nimbly or more agile. So think about company size and multiple dimensions in terms of employees, revenues, and culture, and how fast they're moving, how facile they are with technology. And it all depends on what you're selling. So that's another thing to think about. I always think about, what title and role. So much of what we've done over the last 10 years is talked a lot about value creation. But, I think about value creation, that, value's in the eye of the beholder. So what is of value to maybe a director of sales enablement or a director of sales technology might be different in terms of maybe a manager of Salesforce effectiveness, right? They look at the world differently. They have a different remit. They have different MBOs and they have different budgets. So that's something to think about when you're building your list. Who beyond a functional level would really want to engage in a conversation with you based on not only what you sell, but what you enable? What business results in your history have you been able to generate for your other clients and customers? And who would be most interested in that? What pebble in the shoe of your buyer do you remove? That's the biggest one, and would reward you handsomely for that. So that's an art as well as a science, is to think about, hey, maybe it's not the C-suite, but maybe it's the D-suite. I think about the director suite in terms of ideal. So the title and role is really important, right? You're looking for, I want to find the intrapreneur in an organization, someone who can go get stuff done. Excuse me. They built some internal political currency. They love what they're doing. They love their colleagues. They're really known as a really good doobie internally. They really love the culture and want to be an ambassador for it. So those are the people that you want to find because they're willing to have a conversation, because they're on a path, right? They're like you. They're entrepreneurial with it, where the role might not be a sales role internally. They're thinking like us. They're thinking like salespeople, entrepreneurs internally. Those are ideally, folks you want to connect with. And then, I think about geography, right? Does it matter today geographically where your prospects are? For us, that's a saloon door that swings both ways. We're in the metropolitan New York area, right here in central New Jersey, with access to New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, down to the mid-Atlantic states. We're in, a geographically very fluid area. So that's an advantage for us, but it's not a showstopper. So, but that's something to think about, either if you are branching out internationally or your solution has a particular regional flavor and specificity and benefit and true value, then you want to start thinking about that, the geographic nature of your list accordingly. Industry too. So many industries are dividing and multiplying and recreating themselves. So is it an industry, a broad industry like high technology, or is it a sub-industry like AI? Or is it a sub-industry of cybersecurity? And there's so many levels and different applications around cyber. So those are some things that you can in various tools like a Sales Navigator, where you can get to a certain level of specificity. And the last thing I'll say, and I'm going to hand it over to you because this is really your specialty, is you really want to try to, as you build a list, hopefully find folks on your list that are engaged socially. Because one of the things that we're trying to provide you, our audience, and our customers, if you will, is greater speed and productivity in the sales process. I mean, we don't want to add more time and add more administration. Our job for us, for you, is to give you back time and take more friction out of the sales process. So how do you do that? You start thinking about how invested are the people you're trying to reach on social media? Do they have a point of view? Are they posting themselves? And that's when you know, oh gosh, you know what? I can start building a relationship because this individual or group of individuals that are on your list, they expect it, they want it. And so we have to be prepared for it. So that's kind of where I'd kind of give you back the baton and say, how should, or what to think about as they build that list in terms of interactivity on social and how we can leverage that. Because I know we do it, but
we do. And just another layer to use as you build your list is back it up, right? Back it up with some third-party research to just give yourself some affirmation that you're focused in the right places for whatever it is that you do. Based on what we do and where we want to talk and play, we want to talk to folks that, again, have bought into social selling, are all in on digital marketing and having a digital business. And so when we do research, I'm just going to share some things that I think you'd really, it's good for you to see here. But 50% of consumers increased their social media usage in the last 6 months, and even really the last year since the pandemic. It's gone through the roof when we all had to go virtual, right? Everyone's on their phones, tablets, and laptops. It's massive out there. I got a couple more for you. Check this out. 40% of buyers now prefer social media versus phone or Zoom. That's huge. And I will tell you, if you haven't yet, start thinking about the next generation of buyers, your Gen Z, your millennials, as your primary focus, because those are the folks that are, if they're not in leadership positions running companies and organizations and enterprises already, they will be. And if you look at the data, this came out from McKinsey about a week ago, it is the number one fastest growing trend of where people want to buy and how to buy is the social media channel. So digital social selling is huge. It's not it used to be like a kind of fringe, that seems kind of cool, but it doesn't really work for corporate. No, it's very much now a full blown, this is how we do business today.
Well, I think there's another factoid that I think is really important for our audience from the Digital Marketing Institute is that salespeople that are engaged on social media, using social media, have a 51% more likelihood of attaining their quota. So high-performing salespeople are grasping it, they're using it, and the data is very, very powerful. So we're not here to convince you. We're here for you to do whatever you can to improve upon what you're already doing. And that's one of the things we want to do. Our theme is, if you've got tech, process, messaging that's already working, great. Our job is we want to build upon, support you. So, and that's another thing. Maybe we do a shout out to info@ascendadvisors.com. Ascend Advisors with an ERS as opposed to ORS. We'd love to hear from you, right? If there's something that's working, if there's something you want to add to our conversation, this is our community. So we're trying to build that. So we probably should have said that at the top of the hour, but you have at your luxury to let us know topics that are important to you. But we want to hear about your successes, right? We want to share that. Success begets success. And so that's an open invitation. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yep. And there we go.
Thank you for doing that. So the data, the wind is in your sails. The data is in your favor to do, again, what James and I are espousing around digital sales and marketing. I'm wondering, maybe now we segue to, if you don't have anything else on Sales Navigator, pause me if you do, on maybe some other tools and some other ways to think about list building and creating a prospect list. Because I have some additional thoughts outside of Navigator.
I had one more thing I wanted to share, and just another factoid for you. I got a couple of them today teed up.
Let them loose.
Digital Marketing Institute, but there's 45% more opportunities found by using a digital social selling strategy than not. And so again, we want to build our business and work with the markets that are backed by the trends and the research. And here's just a few that we want to share with you to justify our position on why we want to be talking with folks like you online here because this is the way to do business today and to start introducing new ideas, thoughts. We're here to give you ideas and thoughts. We're also here to tell you that we don't have it all figured out either. And we're here to tell you what we've tested, what we've tried, what we're still using. But there's this underlying belief and success factor for growing companies today. And one of those is this culture of learn and try new things constantly. Mm-hmm. We're in this season of business now where it's moving so fast that if you're not always testing new messaging, new ways to access your market, new ways to talk with your buyer, new ways to position your products and services, you're really missing the boat because there's so many new things coming out. No one can possibly wrap their arms around all of it. We've tried. It's really hard to do, but we do our best, right? And even by doing your best, you still learn and get better every day. And that's a huge thing that we embrace at Ascend.
Well, we do, and I want to talk about speed because you create a great segue to what we're talking about. So all the data points that we shared with you today about digital sales and the advantage and how it's helping individuals and all the success they've had, it's all been documented, right? Hard success in terms of pipeline movement, opportunity, and also the buying community has said we love social actually more than face-to-face and more than Zoom. So if you're using some of these tools, one of the things that we're doing, not to plug our capability, but through our Ascend AI platform, is we're literally taking the coffee talk meeting out of play. Right? That's what selling socially enables you to do. Obviously, move faster, garner a longer list of prospects, which is kind of the thought about today. But in terms of speed, right? Think about what it took, the energy and the effort and the timing to set up that coffee talk meeting down at a Starbucks or the diner or the local restaurant, wherever you might be in a city or where have you, right? It was 2 to 3 weeks to finally get a hold of that person. We went back and forth for a couple of days on email to schedule that. And then we finally got there. Maybe there was an adjustment. Oh my gosh, can't make it on Tuesday. How about Thursday? And before you know it, 3 to 4 weeks have gone by. And then another 2 weeks on the back end to follow up on the coffee talk meeting. Hopefully it was a productive one for you. So, on average, I'm going to say quantitatively and qualitatively, the work we're doing is taking anywhere between 3 to 5 weeks out of the selling cycle because this is faster. Mm-hmm. Now, faster comes at a price. That price is we need to ramp up our business acumen. We need to be able to have at ready access some conversation starters and a point of view. We talked about this on the podcast this week. Hopefully you might have heard us, is having a point of view based on your industry. And this ties into list building because we're literally creating that category of who we want to talk to because now we have something to say. And something to say is more important than something to sell. And I want to reinforce that. We need to move from telling, showing, presenting to sharing. And that's your issue fluency. That's your own personal business credibility is coming from what you're seeing and what you think about that and what the implications are for the businesses that you're reaching out to. That's what folks are responding to. When buyers say, yeah, I want to engage on social media, that doesn't mean, hey, let's talk. That means, hey, I'm going to open the door for you. Bring me some value and bring it fast. So for the price of the speed, the price of admission is upping your business acumen mm-hmm. and knowing on a title and role basis what's important to folks. And the easiest thing to do is, we talk about this all the time, is to Google the job descriptions or go to LinkedIn and look at some of the job postings that are there that are akin to, similar to the folks you're trying to reach out to. It'll tell you what the organization is expecting of those people. Mm-hmm. And the job description is a little more of a fantasy list anyway, but those are some things now what you can do to take advantage of this speed is to reward, right, that prospect for connecting with you on social media, but to accelerate your sales process, that point of view, that jumping in point, that starting point. Because oftentimes your prospect might not even know. You might know what's trending and they don't. Or they might know what's trending, but you've got something else to share. So you're staying at equal business stature, but you're still advancing and building that relationship.
Absolutely. I love that you said all that. There's a lot of things that came up as you were talking that are so important. And we're kind of teeing up our next show tomorrow, which is going to be really heavy into messaging and how to craft the right messaging that starts the right conversation. It's going to be really good.
Don't miss it.
And we have some freebies for you tomorrow that you're going to love. in terms of just giving you some feedback and opportunity to have some folks help you with your messaging. But I'll before we get to that, it's really about when you're deciding on who you're going to focus on your list. Yes, you could pick a geographic area, an industry. Let's say it's IT services in the Northeast, and I want to sell to the VP of sales, right? I could pick that. But beyond that, though, again, what else matters? And the things that we already shared, like what do they believe in and how are they operating in their business today? Are they constantly innovating? Are they putting digital as a priority? Yeah. Are they really testing new methods out weekly that we can chime in on and share some thoughts around, or not? Because if they're not, I could have the VP of sales in an IT company in the Northeast that technically fit my profile, but then once I start talking with them and I find out that they have no intention of doing anything digitally, they're very antiquated, they're very old school or legacy with how they operate in sales, then my ideas and my solutions, as cool and great as I think they are, don't really fit or apply to that organization. There's no pathway for integration or adoption or even urgency, which are, as we know in sales, huge kind of factors to grow your business with.
Yeah, and what kicks in for me, and this is probably why you and I are our sales trainers and coaches, is a deep-rooted joy of helping. And that sounds so Pollyannish and maybe trite, but that guides everything that we're doing, right? Our own personal set of values as a company, as individuals, right? Anyone I want to interact with, my focus is, being credible and having something to say. But I've just found that very rarely will a prospect shush you away or shut you down when you are authentically curious and genuinely concerned about trends in their business and their industry, as well as your organization and your industry for what you all do. It's a different level of conversation. And if anything has proven to be true over the last 18 months, is that's what prospects, that's what all of us, forget about prospects, buyer, seller, all of us as a community are looking for, is more authenticity, more genuineness. And I think now's the chance for you to let that flag fly around that, what you knew, what your point of view. No one's going to shut you down. They're going to expect you to have one, but everyone's looking for a better conversation. And hopefully we've equipped you now, but I would say you got to hit tomorrow's show, because we're going to talk a lot about messaging, right? We're going to give you the goodies, right? The what, not just the how, to build that conversation, to get one started, to build upon one, and hopefully set yourself up with a second conversation. So those are my 2 cents on that.
Great. So to wrap this show up today, if it's been a month, a quarter or more, where you have not taken some time off in the business and worked on the business and looked at your market focus, highly recommend you take this chance. If you listen to this today and that's speaking to you, take the opportunity, right? Take some time this week. Maybe it's even 30, 45 minutes, and just think about, where is my business moving? Where is my customer base generating from? Am I actually focused on that segment, or is it just happening by chance? Should I be focusing on that segment? Where should your focus be as you finish this year and move into 2022? Because when you focus, you can accelerate. And when you accelerate, you can build momentum. And when you build momentum, you can scale. And so that's why this is a huge foundational piece to where we're going in this series on how to social sell. Tomorrow, you were going to love the framework that we're going to teach you on how to build effective messaging for online. So definitely tune in tomorrow, 11 Eastern. This is the Ascend Business Show with your host, James Jacoby.
Good selling, everybody. Thanks for being with us. See you tomorrow.